False alarm, I thought that help was here. But it was my own reassurance bouncing round 100,000 times in my own ecosphere. If every time you speak you keep it off the record, consequently you can keep your record clear. And if you mute the speech that shakes your frail beliefs, you only seek to insulate your image and continue down the stream in the direction clout and credit steers. Directly from your mouth into am I the asshole Reddit's ears. Directly back into the greasy pockets of some Gates Foundation financiers. And then directly back into the frantic final thoughts of early trial Neuralink volunteers, staring at the numb and mumbling vacancies where recently had been their peers. Half of whom are glitching with the memory stuck on pause, and half have zero fucking clue just who they are or why they're here. It's been said that fear is all we have to fear, but that was back before the basosphere condenser came along, distilling concentrated fear that's diamond pure, crystal clear, oppressor strong, and woven into every single article you read and song they let you hear. And then Elon heard that Jeff enhanced our fears by 86%, and he said, hold my beer. And not a single sheep among the herd would turn their head or say a word, cause they were all too busy begging for the shears, begging for the muzzle, happy just to guzzle, feed, and watch a screen for all their years. Man, to each his own, can't afford a home, but they'll let you have your cozy little ecosphere. Where there among your own devices you can break the seventh seal, overthrow the oracles and slay the seer. All the tomes were burned and all the lips were seared. Shut your eyes and all our lives just disappear. Now blink 'em twice. Welcome to your ecosphere.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? So I try to sit down with my wife and watch TV, but I just see propaganda elevating the police in the simplest of sitcom banter, and tiny little altars full of offerings to corporate masters in every well-planned wide pan shot of the name brand stocking up the pantry. Pull back one long tracking shot out to the garage to the logo on the Camry. Nice tight shot of the Camry, close-up view of the Camry, slow pan up on the Camry, long slow zoom to the unmoving human who's up in the front with the tube pumping fumes to him straight from the back of the Camry. Ashamed he just could not provide for himself, let alone for his family. It's a blue pill mindset that spent 2020 making dance beats.
being blind when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride, and thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
Ignorance is bliss, which explains why a lot of us are so fucking happy. Quick to take the trip for all its trappings, never one to ask what's up, what's going on, or God forbid what's happening. A lot of us would strap into the ride and then spit right in the eye of the guy whose job it is to snap your fastenings. But maybe we're all born with that capacity. Maybe each of us comes standard with humor, compassion, malice, and audacity. Some of us are blind to the system, but some see it fine and say this is how it has to be. Some of us can stare wide-eyed at a nationwide human catastrophe and only offer platitudes and recipes. And I wish that I could tell myself that nothing's worth obsessing past my everyday necessities. I wish that I could cry fake news over anything that threatened me, tune out our abuses and consume a little levity. Wish that I could offer up my son a smoother destiny. Wish I had some better lessons for how best to answer questions for the things I've been perpetually questioning. But I'm too busy looking at our leaders, wondering what I might be missing from their messaging. Trying to find the reasoning to let 250,000 people meet an early reckoning. And even though I know the truth, it's hard to swallow something that's so literally sickening. Hope is ever dwindling, COVID ever beckoning. Winter slows your breathing, but your pulse is ever quickening. Even though I know the truth, it's hard to keep listening. I'm done with my epiphany, my innocence is blistering. I'd like to think I'd taste the earth before I'd ever kiss the ring. Hard to speak the truth and harder still to keep listening.
Sometimes I think I miss being blind when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. Thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. Both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? What's up, everyone? It is Sunday night. It's How Did We Miss That on INN. And we are live on 9 different places, like usual. So hello to everybody wherever you're watching, whether that's on YouTube or Rumble or Kick, or if you're watching over on Substack, welcome. Good to see you over there. Odysee, we're live on Odysee and Bitchute as well. On Indie News Network, of course. And then we're live at IndieNewsNow.com, where we self-host. So everywhere you feel like watching. Of course, we're live on Twitter as well, on x.com/GetIndieNews. We're over there. So yeah, we're everywhere that you want to watch. So hopefully you're here watching. We're going to talk about the stuff that is not necessarily distracting, or is being distracted from. So obviously everybody has been talking about Trump unilaterally just decided to invade and attack Iran without Congress's approval. And of course, Congress is clutching their pearls about that. Not so much about that that they attacked, but that they didn't get Congress's permission, which is pathetic. I mean, it's an act of war, period. And without evidence, without a vote from Congress, it's bad. And yes, I agree. But a lot of people have been talking about that, and this show is called How Did We Miss That? So we're here to talk about like some things that aren't what's going on with directly. We are going to get to it a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be what we usually cover, which is corruption, fuck Israel, and everything that the Trump admin is still doing to all the immigrant students, visa holders, green card holders, and they're trying to sow division among the immigrant community and with, Americans that are born here, and try to stoke that kind of fear and anger against the immigrant community. We see that, a lot of that happening. I'm Indy, by the way. I'm already talking my head off. That's Reef sitting next to me looking down. We're going to be here later on also for boat smashing into other boats. So we're going to do some React Funny eye bleach stuff later on. But for now, okay, I don't know what that is. That's an awful close-up. Something that's going in his mouth. I'm not really sure what that is, but that was a real up close and personal view there. But yeah, the warmongers have won out, and we are now dealing with, everybody wondering, like, literally. I'll tell you a funny story. Last night, it started pouring rain about 8:00 at night where I live. And of course, I don't remember what time. It was the afternoon when they announced this whole bombing of the Iranian site. So we had a thunderstorm. And when the thunder hit and there was an extended rumble of thunder, apparently there were some moms that were communicating. My wife told me that their kids were like literally terrified that we were being attacked and retaliated against for attacking Iran because they heard thunder. And she's like, I felt bad because that's like how our kids are processing news and processing trauma today, is through their screens with their phones. Did that really just happen? Like, wow, that's depressing as fuck to begin with. And yeah, thanks for that, Trump, because remember, Iran did not attack anyone. We are, again, the aggressors. They're going to claim all kinds of nonsense. They did not attack anyone, and therefore that's on us. And anything that happens is a result of what we do, and as a result of what we already did. And they're going to cry, and they're going to use it as an excuse to further escalate, of course, and that's what they want to do. But, this is all, and this is what I'm going to talk about. Our first story tonight is from CJ Hopkins. But before we do that, support the media you want to see, because most of the media out there has been reactionary, not really providing much information that people didn't already know, and their analysis has been surface level because nobody knows what's going to happen. But these incredible people do fund the media they want to see. Excuse me. We did get a new supporter, and for some reason, I didn't load it in that slide, but if I share my screen, Anita Wood, thank you. A new monthly subscriber to INN newsletter. So all these people already have contributed and supported. The ways that you can do that if you're not already on that board, and we appreciate everyone that is and continue to be on that board and continue to support. Cash App, $, Indie News Network, co-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. And then we've got the Substacks, INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com, and our self-hosted website that has a Stripe plugin at IndieNewsNow.com. And then you go to the Keep the Media Free, and you can hook up a monthly or one-time contribution over there. So I said I had an article from CJ Hopkins, Indie Media Award honoree. I am a monthly paid subscriber to CJ Hopkins Substack. I do support the independent media that I want to see. I don't just say that. I do fund the media I want to see. And even when I disagree with CJ, I think that he has.
You know what you don't do? You don't share your screen with me when I asked earlier.
Did you Did you ask? I don't think that you did ask. I think that's a lie, sir.
Yep. I totally did.
Well.
I tried to help you out.
I just wasn't listening.
9:59 and 30 seconds.
Yep. I wasn't listening.
Restart.
So CJ just started by wanting to point out that all of this is a much larger plan that has been in play for a long time, and not to get bogged down by the minute-to-minute, play-by-play, day-to-day happenings, because we already kind of have a good idea of how this is, what they plan to do and how they want it to play out. So again, cjhopkins.substack.com. He starts, and so the global capitalist empire's destabilization and restructuring of the Middle East continues. Now, what's really funny is, look at the date that this started. Now, Iran got attacked by the United States on June 21st. This was 5 days ago, or 6 days ago. This was after Israel first attacked Iran unprovoked. All right, so this was even before the U.S., so he's already laying out what's going to happen 6 days ago. Okay, so the destabilization and restructuring plan of the Middle East continues. Yes, I'm referring to Israel's preemptive attack, quote unquote, on the Islamic Republic of Iran, or World War III, or whatever the establishment media and social media influencers are trying to get you to call it at the moment. CJ is a world famous curmudgeon, and I adore him for that. You'll forgive me if I don't engage with either the official Israel is defending itself from the nuclear weapon that Iran has been days away from developing for the last 25 years narrative, or the unofficial, the evil Zionists who control the U.S. government, they do, are trying to draw Trump into a war for Israel narrative. Because that's also not true. It was already laid out that he was going to go into war for Israel. The global capitalist empire, not America or Israel, has been destabilizing and restructuring the greater Middle East since the end of the Cold War. It's going to continue to do that until every nation in the region is playing ball with the empire. And they're almost there. America is not the empire, though some would disagree with that statement. The Zionists do not control the world. Really. The USA and Israel are components of the global capitalist empire. And we've talked about Globocap in the past from his works, but it's been a while. Israel is the empire's Middle East headquarters. The U.S. military-industrial complex and its international partners are the empire's muscle. The empire is conducting a global clear and hold op, neutralizing internal resistance, restructuring, quote unquote, the territory it conquered and now occupies. Pretty damn accurate. This is what's happening in the Middle East, in Gaza, in Iran, in Israel, in Lebanon and Syria, which he doesn't say. Look at a map. Note which countries are playing ball with the global capitalist empire, Syria. Note which ones aren't playing ball, like Yemen. Note which ones have already been restructured, like Syria and Turkey and Qatar and Oman, etc., etc. All right, this actually comes out of the Council of Foreign Relations, which is hilarious that he pulled this map from the CFR. But what this says is that as of October 2024, the U.S. had about 40,000 service members in the Middle East. Who's attacking us there again?
What?
Okay. These are the locations of U.S. bases and sites based on unclassified sources and don't include all bases and sites in the region. And all of these dots represent a U.S. base in the Middle East. What? God, these people, wait, why would they put their countries near our bases like that?
It's funny how that works.
It's the meme come to life.
Djibouti.
Or don't do that. Switch off your mind and consume whatever cartoonish narratives the corporate media and influencers are peddling to you. The evil Iranians and their nuclear weapons that don't exist. The evil Zionists that control the world. Netanyahu duped Trump. Trump tricked MAGA. The Rothschilds, the deep state, the Jewish supremacists, the return of the neocons who never left, World War III. The global capitalists.
Not to minimize
Go ahead.
the fucking Jewish supremacists and Zionists that do control quite a bit, CJ. Just
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
They have their hands in a lot of pies. A lot of them economic, I will grant you, but
He's saying they're all
Like-
narratives, basically, and we're going to get to what he says, is that the global capitalist empire would prefer that you focus on one of these narratives. And it doesn't matter which, it doesn't matter to the empire which narrative you consume. That is the killer to the whole thing. They've got one for everybody. They're going to serve it up. The empire doesn't care whether you're a liberal or conservative. It couldn't possibly care less who you voted for if you did or not. It doesn't care whether you're a multi-gendered pronoun-using anti-Trump progressive or an Elon-loving MAGA conservative. It doesn't care whether you're a Waymo-burning Mexican flag-flying illegal immigrant or a race-baiting crypto-fascist creep. It doesn't care whether you're a Zionist or an anti-Zionist. It doesn't give a shit what you think about vaccines. Whoever you are, whatever side you're on, the empire has a ready-made narrative for you. A narrative that has nothing to do, conveniently, with the global capitalist empire and its global clear and hold op. I disagree with that a little bit, because certainly talking about Zionism and, you know, the Zionist control of our government and the money and influence that they push in there to control that agenda certainly is more than just a ready-made narrative.
They give a shit if you talk about it.
That's a real thing.
They don't want you to talk about that.
And that's one big advantage that the global capitalist empire has over earlier totalitarian systems. Unlike the communists and the national socialists, global capitalism has no ideology, so it can morph into anything it needs to morph into, including any potential opposition to it. And I thought that was also interesting. Well, I the first half of it, yes. The communists are nothing like the National Socialists. Well, okay. What do you mean?
Like, he's just saying it can be whatever we want it to be. It can save us too.
No,
like bullshit. It's never done that ever.
It morphs into anything it needs to undermine the system. That's, I think, what he means.
Yeah, but it's not going to undermine it. That system is there to be the system, and they don't want it changing, therefore it won't.
Well, he's claiming here that it's morphed the last few years, more or less since the end of the COVID era, just as the Obama Hope and Change show captured and neutered the growing opposition to the war on terror, i.e. the original version of the global capitalist empire's destabilization and restructuring of the Middle East. The Make America Great Again show, with assistance from the Musk cult, has captured and neutralized the populist opposition to the new normal Reich, which is, i.e., the new global capitalist form of totalitarianism that was rolled out during the COVID pandemic, quote unquote. Again, not sure I agree with that, but that's an interesting take. He says he explored this in the introductory essay in his newest book, Fear and Loathing in the New Normal Reich. All right, so he puts an excerpt there that, quote, here's a key feature of the New Normal Reich: the capture, conditioning, and commodification of opposition forces that cannot be eliminated. Remember, this is a global capitalist totalitarianism, not the ham-fisted 20th century version. Any internal resistance to the empire that cannot be annihilated or otherwise silenced can be commodified, branded, and marketed back to its members as a simulacrum of itself. That's an interesting word. Ultimately, it can be instrumentalized like the Brotherhood in Orwell's 1984, or QAnon, for example. It can be molded into a resistance movement with pink pussy hats, which simultaneously exists and doesn't exist because it only exists as a simulacrum, which is a copy of a thing that no longer
Simulacrum.
exists. Right. Right, which conceals the fact that it no longer exists. And it's deployed to lure political opposition into an endless war against other simulacra, whatever. A war that is itself a simulacra. He's doing Inception here, okay?
Yeah.
Free speech X is a prime example, which is hilarious. Nobody here believes that Elon Musk is restoring free speech with his platform. The ease with which Elon Musk and a consortium of serious global capitalist behemoths, Saudi royalty, and assorted other oligarchs purchased the platform formerly known as Twitter, rebranded it as the bastion of free speech, despite the fact that X continues to collaborate with the empire to censor dissent. Kathy Vogan from Consortium News can tell you all about that. She's been banned since November. Okay? They corralled the majority of the populist opposition to the emergence of the new normal Reich and transformed it into a global personality cult. All right? That's a testament to the versatility of capitalism. Again, I disagree with that statement. And to the advantage of having no official ideology. When you don't have to conform to any specific ideology, you can wear whatever mask you need to wear. I can think of a couple of live streamers that I've run into who have done that, acted like chameleons, absorbed somebody's audience, mimicked their behavior and their rhetoric in order to gain favor with their audience, then shit all over that person, split the audience in half, and take half of them with them. Or at least a percentage. And if they do that enough times, they build up a pretty nice following for themselves. The images, okay, it's, again, you can play whichever role it's called for. All right, it's all just marketing, advertising, branding. Dude, it's why Trump is president. He's the king of branding. Right? He's got a meme coin in his name that he has nothing to do with, and he's just making money off his own name. It's about selling images. All right, talk about straight out of central casting and how the optics of it really matter as much as anything. It's why he puts, women that he perceives to be pretty in positions of power. All right. The images don't mean anything. They're just Pavlovian stimuli designed to trigger a reaction in the target consumer. The transformation of Twitter or X into the Musk cult and its merger with or takeover of the MAGA movement has been fascinating, if extremely depressing to watch. I don't think they merged with MAGA at all, because I think that in the end, MAGA fucking can't stand the tech pros. They want them for their money, but otherwise they think they're complete dorks. At the moment, it appears to be on the verge of morphing into exactly the official enemy that the empire has been desperately simulating for years. Again, disagree, because they are part of the Trump clan, the Trump family. So they're not the enemy. We are the enemy. The opposition, the people that actually want the things that Trump isn't pushing. He says that he wrote this last December, just after the election that ushered in a new golden age of America, or whatever. And now, well, here we are. The destabilization and restructuring of the Middle East is proceeding apace. Israel and Iran are officially at war, I guess. I didn't know one declared war on the other, but firing missiles at each other certainly does, constitute that. Yeah. The Gaza Strip has been reduced to rubble. The Assad regime is gone, replaced with the gang of global capitalism ball-playing Al-Qaeda thugs. True.
Yep.
Gilani was Al-Qaeda, for those who don't know. The Trump regime is reconditioning people with suspicious tattoos. Renditioning people with suspicious tattoos to Salvadoran gulags, arresting students for writing editorials. We're going to talk about some of that today. Unleashing mass goons to round up illegals, which they did to Mahmoud Khalil, and generally making America great again by really making America whiter again by trying to get rid of everyone that isn't. Twitter is now a cesspool of algorithmically boosted racial hatred, mindless rage, Musk and MAGA propaganda, widget ads, and miscellaneous idiocy. Also crypto bots and fell for it again memes, which are fucking amazing.
Fuck Twitter.
Yes. Palantir is assembling a master database of Americans' personal data. People are shrieking for mass deportations. Stephen Miller is channeling Joseph Goebbels. Elon Musk is accusing Trump of degenerate acts on Epstein Island. No one's being prosecuted for lying about COVID, but Bobby Kennedy fired a bunch of bureaucrats and Trump's military birthday parade and so on.
We are the United States government. We don't do that sort of thing.
Basically, the global capitalist empire has morphed into the opposition to itself, or a simulacrum to the opposition to itself, and is now simultaneously instrumentalizing and disassembling the opposition to itself, as it markets itself and the opposition to itself and to itself and the opposition to itself. Okay, now I've gotten cross-eyed.
In short, they're faking being resistance to do the exact same thing they've always done. That's what they always do.
Wait, like a No Kings rally that's being funded by the party that anointed their
AOC,
last candidate?
AOC 2.0, remember the Zohan.
Right? Do not fall for the Zohan. That's right. Okay.
Right.
Because he's just
Moron
AOC,
Zohan.
Right? It's unbelievable. The war on Zohan.
Or Thomas Massey. Or fucking Thomas Massey, who people still have yet to fucking figure out. Or
like I said, they have a narrative for everybody. They have a narrative for everybody. Yeah. Right? So there is nothing, right? Okay, so the global capitalist empire is able to do this because, again, it has no ideology or values to uphold. The only thing is it's capitalism and profit. That's the value. That's the value, CJ. It's profit. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't need to make sense or to be consistent. Yes, it does, for profit's sake.
Yeah, for shareholders.
It can wear whatever mask it needs to wear because there's no face behind the mask. It's capitalism. Every time. It's capitalism. Capitalism. Yes, there is nothing, no values, no ideology, no beliefs, no principles, nothing to defend or betray. Capitalism. There is something to defend or betray. That's
how that works.
Yes. Nothing to stop it from becoming anything and then becoming the exact opposite
over everything else
a moment later. No, that's just Trump. Trump's just a flip-flopper. Right? They're all just flippy-floppy. Every single one of them. Tulsi Gabbard, flip-flop.
No Ferengi without profit.
There's no Ferengi at all.
Sorry, I went all philosophical there. No, you went all cross-eyed there. You sent me cross-eyed. And probably bored a lot of my readers to death. Well, not totally, but almost. Forget about the global capitalist empire and the nothing behind the masks and all that. I'm pretty sure I'm overthinking this stuff, and it really is just the Jews own everything, and the Muslims hate us for our freedom, and that we're being replaced by illegal Mexicans, or Trump is Hitler, or Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, or I don't know. I'm sure there's a corporate media pundit or dissident podcaster who can explain what's really happening and tell us who we're supposed to root for. Like us, yeah, we're the dissident podcasters saying, don't root for those assholes.
Tell you to root for, right?
That's right. So here's the Fear, Loathing, and the New Normal Reich and his other book, Zone 23, cjhopkins.substack.com.
They might try to arrest him just for that font on the ampersand. You better be careful.
Wait, well, now we'll have to go back and show everyone what the ampersand. Oh yeah, that is a little Nazi.
That's gonna get you. Fucking Germany's gonna have a problem with that. Hopkins.
That's a little Nazi-esque right there.
You know how this works.
If everyone doesn't know, CJ Hopkins has been on trial for 3 years for publishing a book cover that had a COVID mask that had a swastika very lightly emblazoned onto it to showcase the similarities between the COVID narratives and Nazi Germany. He lives in Germany, so he would know and he would have a perspective, but apparently they think that's illegal and they want to prosecute him for that, which is also fucked up because they allegedly have a free speech constitution, but, Germany and all. It don't make no motherfucking sense. So, again, fund the media we want to see. Anita Wood, thank you so much for subscribing this week. And actually this morning or yesterday on INNnewsletter.com. All these people have already supported INN. I do have a new Wall of Fame that added Anita's name. I just didn't upload it here yet. I'll do that in between. But in the meantime, Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. Yep, that. PayPal.me/Indie News Network as friends and family. Go to Substack at INNnewsletter.com or at IndieMediaToday.com, where we are live right now. Yes, Harp's twatter or watching live over on Twitter right now, or over on Substack. He's saying twatter. And then
Substack newsletter near you.
Yeah, that place. And then also at IndieNewsNow.com, which is the self-hosted news site that we built in order to... Where do you go to actually find, like, good stories from reputable, reliable... Yeah, from reputable, reliable places. Is that Anita? Yes, she is cool. Anita B? I don't know. Maybe. Iron Chief, good to see you. Dunn? Iron Chief hangs... definitely not Anita Dunn. I can tell you that for sure. Iron Chief has been hanging out in the AM Wake Up every morning, weekday mornings. We've been simulcasting AM Wake Up to our Kick, Twitch, and Twitter channels over at INN. Also to IndieNewsNow.com. And he hangs out and chat there as well. And it's good to see him.
Iron
really
Chief
appreciate him checking it out.
Sounds like one of those Marvel characters where they don't want to talk about anymore, you know? Like
Harps is everywhere. Now he's on Twitter. He's on the Xers. All right. Angel says he loves INN. So do I, man. Appreciate that. Check out Angel in the afternoon. That was Friday. He had a fire show on Friday. And then on Saturday, last night, they did Pro Wrestling Talk. Now, what they've been doing with Pro Wrestling Talk is they go live on the Ocho. Yeah, that guy. So they go live on the Ocho and on Angel's channels on both YouTube and Twitter and everywhere else and Rumble. And then they turn off YouTube after about an hour so they can watch the stuff that YouTube won't let them watch. So by all means, go check out Pro Wrestling Talk. They covered the thing about Goldberg this week and a bunch of that. I don't watch the stuff much, but I like following their show anyway. Desert Mantis sticks his head in the sand. There's a lot of people that have been doing that lately, and ignorance is bliss, which explains why a lot of us are so fucking happy, is literally a line from Jesse Jett in Red Pill, which is one of the themes of this of this show. Although I don't think that ignorance is bliss. I think that knowledge is power. All right, and we need to not be ignorant of what's happening, including what's happening in Gaza. And we don't want to, but before we're going to get to Gaza, we're going to get to Tel Aviv and Israel's attack unprovoked attack, again, that we covered last week, that Israel attacked Iran. It hasn't gotten any better, but Iran, of course, retaliated this week, and we saw some areas in Israel get hit. We learned that the Iron Dome isn't as impenetrable as everybody thought it was, that it can't stop hypersonic missiles. And apparently Israel thinks that bombing hospitals is bad again, which I thought was really interesting, considering that they've bombed hospitals, every one of them, as Laura from Normal Island News points out, after bombing every hospital in Gaza to find the non-existent Hamas command center. The Israeli government is hiding in a command center under Ichilov Hospital in Tel Aviv. But don't worry, though, it's fine when Israel uses human shields.
Got him!
Oh, man. So, again, we did strike Iran and we did a preemptive, quote unquote, or, there's another word for that. But on June 19th, this was 2 days in advance, Kyle Anzalone, another Indie Media Award honoree over at Libertarian Institute and antiwar.com, had it.
Pause.
And this,
can someone do one of those line drawings that, you know what I'm talking about, where they put the, Trump's leaning into Melania? Can someone do that with that photo, please? He's not strong, very weak. Woman's the strength in the relationship. Look at the strong upright lines. Trump leaning in.
He's leaning. Okay. So, again, this is before we attacked, but kind of he got word, and I don't know where they get their source from, but American officials are gearing up for a U.S. strike on Iran that could come as soon as this weekend, even though Trump said it would be 2 weeks. You'd think about it for 2 weeks. U.S. bases and diplomatic facilities in the region are also preparing for a potential retaliation if President Trump orders a strike on the Islamic Republic. Bloomberg reports, quote,
Tactical nuke incoming!
maybe senior officials are preparing for the possibility of a strike on Iran in the coming days, according to people familiar with the matter, as Israel and the Islamic Republic continue to exchange fire. Again, did Iran fire at Israel first? I refresh my memory, because no, they didn't. And now, did Iran fire at the United States first before we apparently attacked them? No. The article adds that, quote, some of them pointed to potential plans for a weekend strike. Right? Well, that was pretty accurate. The sources explained that Trump's current strategy is hoping that threatening to attack Iran would lead Tehran to comply with his demand for unconditional surrender. On Wednesday, when he was asked if he was going to order a strike on Iran, the president replied, I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. Except Israel knew the whole time what he was going to do. Tehran said it will not negotiate under duress. As well, they should not. They are a sovereign nation. Iran does not negotiate under duress, shall not accept peace under duress, and certainly not with a has-been warmonger clinging to relevance, the Iranian UN mission said. The Wall Street Journal reported that late Tuesday, Trump approved the strike plans for Iran, but withheld authorizing the attack. Washington was taking steps to prepare for war. Newsweek reports viewing satellite imagery that shows American aircraft have been removed from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. All right. A statement from the Pentagon said, quote, we recommend that U.S. citizens in Qatar take similar precautions. They weren't recommending an evacuation yet, but they were getting it. They weren't like
Pentagon.
Those guys. The U.S. has also removed some of its diplomatic staff and their families from Israel, but I believe that was voluntary. And now the airport's closed, so they can't, unless they get on a boat somewhere. Right?
I do that?
So I wanted to point out that Kyle had it a couple of days in advance, but it wasn't just Kyle. It was Bloomberg pulling it and the Wall Street Journal pulling it. And everybody kind of knew that they were planning to quite possibly do this. I think a lot of people didn't think they would actually do it. And they did. So we go to Carrie Wedler.
Take a stand against evil.
Against those who would commit and sponsor acts of terror, who kill innocent civilians, deprive human beings of basic dignity, indoctrinate their youth, use religion to justify brutality, whose hearts are filled with hate, and who collectivize and dehumanize millions of people. That all sounds pretty evil, so you should stop supporting the state of Israel, whose rulers commit and sponsor acts of terror, kill innocent civilians, deprive people of basic human dignity, indoctrinate their youth, use religion to justify brutality, whose hearts are filled with hate, and who collectivize and dehumanize millions of people. The point isn't Israel bad, Iran and Hamas good. Questioning the Israeli government is not the same thing as being anti-Semitic or siding with Hamas or the Iranian government, which, unfun fact, rose to power as a revolt against a CIA-imposed autocrat. The biggest extremists rule through force and violence while pushing false dichotomies of good and evil to justify their own brutality and inhumanity as they condemn it in others. They propagandize poor souls into cheering on carnage and abuse when their perceived team does it. Now is a great time to stop letting them manipulate your heart, mind, and spirit into supporting murder, regardless of who's committing it.
Seems pretty obvious to me, but apparently people need to be reminded who the real extremists are. Who has not, again, attacked anyone, who didn't even threaten to attack anyone, but they were certainly attacked. I mean, this whole thing has been the Wesley Clark plan. So let's just remind MAGA just how much they fell for it again in the missile bombing of United States enters war with Iran without congressional approval, of course, because he said he didn't need permission and he'll just do it. And who's going to stop him? And that's exactly what he just did. So great, man. That's really what I had brought for where we're at so far, because that's really all we know so far. So
yeah,
fuck Trump, fuck Israel. Go ahead.
You mean we don't just give our immediate reaction to what happens? We try to find out what happened and then report. You know,
it's a novel concept. I know.
Crazy.
Report first, ask questions later.
I'm telling you, it just became clicks and get there first.
Breaking news.
Report first, ask questions later.
By the way, we did a story about a propagandist a couple of weeks ago on this show that nobody else has exposed or talked about. And that person somehow became pretty important in disseminating the White House talking points with regard to how Trump has always said he wanted to prevent a nuclear Iran, except that if you actually watched the facts about what had happened and the IAEA stuff and Richard Medhurst's breakdown of it, Iran was never close to having a nuclear weapon. They hadn't enriched the uranium that was necessary, and they certainly hadn't done it under the JCPOA, which, as a reminder, Trump tore up and we bailed out of, not Iran. But somehow they need to follow some kind of a standard. And why is it that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but Israel can? When Israel's been destroying countries all over the region? Oh, it's because we're backing them. Oh, right. Okay. Steve Gill, last 24 hours, 25,000 Israelis requested exit passes, and they've been denied because Bibi wants to use them as human shields, apparently.
Denied.
Stairway denied.
Oh,
but
no.
Like I said, we are demonetized over on YouTube. We don't want you to pay via the platforms. We would much prefer for you to use one of these methods to support the independent media you want to see like this. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. Thank you to people that do that. Code-v.com/Indie News Network will actually pop something up on screen here. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. IndieNewsNow.com is our website. We're actually live there right now if you go to the Watch Live section. And then we've got our Substacks, where we're also now live, okay, at INNNewsletter.com for the network, and at IndieMediaToday.com, which is my Substack, where all the clips and segments from this show every week are cut up and sent out as daily emails, as their own kind of posts, whatever you want to call them. Anyway. Hi, everybody.
Post sheets.
Sheet. We have sheet. Sheet.
That's the X. What is that? It's because it's not tweets anymore. It's Jeets.
Jeets. X-eats.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I can't tell you that. It's classified.
I can tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. I think that's the other part of that, right? Is that from Top Gun? I think that's from Top Gun.
No, it's the fucking shit. What's the Top Gun parody?
Oh,
Hot
Shots.
Wings. That's a different Hot Shots. That's fucking it. Yes, it is.
Oh God. All right. Well, laughing to not
Rain
a
Manning his
matter.
way through the soundboard.
I have to know where it comes from.
I know.
Here's another short but fuck Israel segment. Let's not forget Gaza, because in all of this, and the reason why a lot of this is being done is to cover up for Israel's slaughter of the Palestinian people in Gaza, the takeover and annexing of the West Bank, the mineral rights and everything that they're going to steal from underneath. But they have blacked again. There's so little reporting coming out of there. That's a person being burned alive. Again, we see this too often. There's a fire with people. Yep. There's somebody like laying in a bed or sitting in a chair. People dead next to it. Just like, this is what they're dealing with on a daily basis. Thanks. And again, Israel has the audacity to liken Iran's supreme leader to Hitler. Where do they get off deciding who should and shouldn't exist? They are the epitome of evil, is this person's opinion. We're watching Israel carry out another Holocaust in real time, and our leaders are profiting off of it, which is one of the reasons why they're allowing it to happen. But, look, these images are horrific, and I hate to bring them, but they are part of the story, and we cannot turn away. This is what they would like us to turn away and to not pay attention to this and report on it and talk about it. But we're going to talk about it here. Here's another story that's heartbreaking, and another fuck Israel story. This is Mossab Abu Toha, who's a writer, a Palestinian poet and writer from Gaza. He won the Pulitzer Prize for commentary. All right.
Oh.
This is the son of my neighbor who was killed today. His parents waited 15 years before this child came into their world. His name was Kinan al-Masri. He was a beautiful child. Israel killed him. And you did not stop them from committing this crime and thousands more. None of us did. Could.
You better say free Palestine.
It's beyond heartbreaking. I mean, why? Amalek. I mean, disgusting. The rhetoric and the behavior. And just to remind people, this is not AI. It's a photo of starving Palestinians putting their lives in peril to get a bag of flour. This is a Holocaust of mass killing, starvation, and destruction. That is not AI. That is an actual photo.
Did you see the one where they had the fucking crawl? Like literally army crawling.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how for long, but it was like a crazy amount. Or they popped their fucking head up. They got shot at. Like what?
Yep.
What? Ugh, Jesus Christ.
Yes. Horrible. And then we also have Mohammed Safa, who has video of Gaza. He comments that there has never been a war in history where 80% of the country's been destroyed, 100% of the population displaced. Let me read that again. 100% of the population displaced because no structure stands, and 50% of the deaths, children. There's only one word for that, and it's genocide, or it's extermination.
Nothing justifies genocide.
Yeah, like she said. So here's the 14 seconds of this. Just devastation. Leveled by U.S. bombs and Israeli bombers. All right, this isn't hand-to-hand, on-the-ground combat.
I mean, dude, compare that to pictures of Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Like,
yeah. You can.
I don't think people grasp the fucking, like, first of all, okay, 6-foot person down there on the fucking ground. Like, just start doing the fucking math, right? Those are buildings. Those are floors you see, right? Floors of buildings. Count them up, right? Yep. These are fucking blocks of city streets.
Not
densely
anymore.
Populated cities at that. Like, this is insanity.
Yep. Absolutely horrific.
Like, and just think of how one photo of a burning child in Vietnam made people figure out things, you know? Like,
Steve says 377,000 Palestinians are missing. Man. And again, this is continuing with the protection of the United States and UK and Australia and India they're literally providing cover and support for this, especially the US and UK. I mean, UK is using the basin in Cyprus, which apparently a lot of Israelis are trying to flee to now because they got a little taste of what missiles hitting Tel Aviv are, and they don't like it, and they want to leave. And even though the airport's closed, they can get on a boat, and they can go to Cyprus, and apparently a lot of them are.
They can fucking go take a cruise! Like...
They could.
We're talking about the Israelis that fucking pulled out, right? Who have somewhere to go.
Well...
That they fucking...
Back to Europe, right?
No, they like literally were on a fucking cruise ship. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, the official toll is like around 60,000, but that's insane also because the Gaza Health Ministry, where do you find the records in the Gaza Health Ministry in that rubble right there on screen? Where's the Gaza Health Ministry going to maintain the computer files that have the list of every single person that's been born since October 7th? They can't even account for any of the... half of them are starved or put dead in incubators or bombed out. And how many? 17 pages of martyred children under the age of 1? And yet these people are still... Israel has a right to exist? No, it doesn't. It has a right to go fuck itself. That's what it does right now. That's all it has the right to do. It has the right to fuck off. All right. And for saying shit like that is why we will never probably get remonetized by YouTube. And we could use your support in doing that. Cash App $Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. Over at IndieNewsNow.com and over at the Substacks at INNNewsletter.com and at IndieMediaToday.com. So, oh man. There's been a lot of rage, but hey, we also have got the British that are prosecuting their journalists and activists for speaking out and trying to change the narrative and change public opinion and get their lawmakers to go along with that public opinion about funding genocide and it being a war crime, and maybe even bringing up Keir Starmer on charges, which I'd love to see. Okay. But again, we go to our friend Laura at Normal Island News. Breaking, the British government has explained that terrorism now just means anything Israel doesn't like. Well, we've known that. And what do we mean? Well, I brought Ricky from Council of State Media. Laura and Ricky are all Indie Media Award honorees. We're only going to the best of the best tonight for this stuff. Splashing paint on a plane is terrorism, and killing 20,000 plus children is self-defense. Welcome to the upside-down world that we now live in. Ricky writes that if you support the efforts of Palestine Action to stop the Gaza genocide, you may as well say it now, because pretty soon those words are going to land you up to 14 years in prison. Just writing this article will probably get me put on a government watch list. He already is one. If I'm not somehow already on one, he's definitely on one for the wheelchair story alone about the NHS. Isn't it nice?
Right away.
Isn't it nice living in one of those Western democracies that have all the freedom? So much freedom. It seems Yvette Cooper has received her orders from Netanyahu because she's about to abuse her powers as Home Secretary in order to proscribe Palestine action. The Home Secretary has always just been a monstrous position. Back to the time that that Julian Assange has been in prison, and we had Priti Patel there. She was a mess too. This means that the group would officially be considered a terrorist organization, Palestine Action, right? And it would be illegal to not only be a member, but to express support for it. Yes, thought crime is a thing in the UK. Palestine Action upset the government when they broke into RAF Bryce Norton and splashed paint on 2 planes that the government insists have nothing to do with the conflict, only that's not true. One of these planes has the tail number ZZ338, and we know it was used to support airstrikes on Yemen in defense of Israel. We've got the flight logs.
Yep.
What is particularly galling here is that Sir Keir Starmer once defended someone who did what Palestine Action did. Of course he did, which is break into an RAF base to vandalize a plane. His change of position shows...
Pause.
Yes.
Like exactly?
Like exactly.
Like this exactly the same? What the fuck?
Stop! You violated the law.
Right?
What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, QC Lewis and, yep, was the appellant. The judgment, handed down the judgment of Smith Burnell Reporting Limited. So, what this is from 2000, case 2004. Yep. July 21st, 2004. Apparently, somebody broke into a base and did something to a plane. And here we go. At about 9:45 p.m. that day, the defendants were discovered together by a senior U.S. Air Force airman in the secure fuel installation complex inside the perimeter fence of RAF Fairford, which was at the time a 24-hour operational military base and NATO standby base, as well as being home to Allied U.S. visiting forces. They were in possession of tools which had enabled them to enter the airbase, and which they had intended to cause damage to equipment to the airbase. By the time they were apprehended, they had damaged 3 refueling trucks, 2 munitions trailers, and their tractor units. They didn't just spray paint on it. When arrested, they both stated that it was their intention to prevent the U.S. and U.K. from using the base for what they described as a launching pad for war crimes. Huh. Sounds familiar? Soon, we won't be allowed to do something the Prime Minister once argued was perfectly legal and morally justified. That's the reality we're facing. There's even talk of the government proscribing the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. This would then mean that it would be illegal to support direct action to stop genocide, and it would also be illegal to support Iran's right to self-defense. If you're not British and you wonder why the British never expressed support for resistance groups, it's because they would go to jail. Counterterrorism legislation would leave them with far fewer rights than a regular criminal, and they would not be given anything like due process. Their imprisonment would be a formality. Often, suspects are denied access to a lawyer or even access to electronic devices and put on house arrest until they go to court under a media blackout. Like Sarah Wilkinson, they tried to do that too.
Right to jail, right away.
If you were jailed for supporting Palestine Action, the media wouldn't probably even mention your name. You would simply vanish until the government decided you could be released from room 101. Anyone who spoke up would have to be careful because the wrong words could land them in the same position. Chilling isn't the word. This is dystopian, authoritarian. God, how many words can we use to describe this? Whenever the government introduces a draconian measure for Israel,
25.
Sure. Whenever the government introduces a draconian measure on behalf of Israel, the argument goes something like supporting Palestinians is not illegal, but violence is. Then the police prosecute people who are not violent. So, not only are you not allowed to take meaningful action to stop Israel's genocide, you're not even allowed to express your disapproval. If the government has not found a way to silence you, it's always looking at new ways. The government was even shutting down peaceful protests until the courts ruled that was unlawful, and it's now considering changing the law to get around this. If your basic freedoms are inconvenient to Israel, your basic freedoms have to go. It's no coincidence that they're going after those who advocate for Palestine. You will never see counterterrorism legislation used against a supporter of Israel. If they say something supportive of genocide, well, that's just free speech. If they damage property, that's just petty vandalism. When a supporter of Palestine does the same, it's terrorism.
Sure.
Israel has committed the two biggest crimes under international law, genocide and a war of aggression, as well as collective punishment.
That's just the first two.
Right. Both of these crimes are more serious than terrorism, yet the government is pretending opposition to these crimes is terrorism. It's punishing people for doing the right thing. That sounds familiar because they're doing the same thing here.
Terrorism. Terrorist.
Police, freeze!
The Genocide Convention does not just put the onus on governments to act to prevent genocide, but on individuals. Palestine Action and others are acting in accordance with international law when they try to prevent genocide. Some would argue that there's no such thing as international law. Our government, on the other hand, is seriously in breach of international law. Again, if there were such a thing. There are treaties between countries, but there is no universally accepted law that all countries abide by. There's treaties, there's doctrines or whatever you call it, but it's not law because it hasn't been passed by every single one of their Congress or, their bodies of law. It's only kind of like a suggested thing, that when we do something at the UN, that's not like binding as a law of the land. David Lammy is blackmailing Iran by threatening that the U.S. will illegally bomb its nuclear sites. Too late. He's threatening further war crimes if the victim of an illegal war of aggression does not surrender. While the government is calling the likes of Palestine Action terrorists, this is the real terrorism. It's literally mafia thug terrorism. Terrorism, again, is the use of terror and violence to coerce people. Bombing nuclear sites in Iran certainly would fall under that jurisdiction, under that definition. Setting off bombing pagers in Lebanon definitely would fall under that definition. No one in the UK is feeling terrorized by Palestine Action. No one is remotely afraid of what Palestine Action is doing might kill them because it's not terrorism by any objective measure. Maybe one day Ricky will go to jail for making these points, and I sincerely hope not. Alternatively, he might be conscripted to fight in a war that Israel started. Those are the prospects on offer in our so-called freedom-loving democracy. Are you not sick of Israel's shit yet? Man, I sure am. And shout out again to Ricky and Council of State Media. That's councilofstatemedia.uk is the URL for that. They're also on Twitter and on Blue Cry. They seem to think that, being off of Elon's platform is beneficial, even though it gives you nearly tiny percentage of the visibility. All right. But I support Palestine Action. All right. Michael Lynch says we're being ruled by the criminally insane. Good old Hitler had nothing on these ghouls, and hard to argue with, honestly. But we don't need to make comparisons. I mean, they are murderers, period. Mass murderers who are continuing to send spy flights and munitions and fuel tankers to support the murder of children every day. 100 Palestinians murdered a day is what the Knesset wants to be able to have happen, and the world not even think about it. No, sorry, that's not going to happen here. We're going to think about it. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to remind people that Israel and the U.S. and UK are systematically murdering Palestinian babies every day. Unarmed, defenseless Palestinian babies living in tents, trying to survive, who are also being starved for 105 or 106 days, however many days that is now. So fuck Israel for all that. And fuck Israel for controlling the narrative in the UK, forcing the UK to put an organization like Palestine Action on a terror watch list? Because you know that if that were any other organization that wasn't on behalf of Israel, they wouldn't be talking about putting them on a terrorist list. They just wouldn't. This is done by Israel and orchestrated by Israel because they have to control the narrative 100% across the board all the time. Because the minute that they don't, people start asking questions and pointing out the monstrous shit that they do, and it's a problem for them. So again, fuck Israel, fuck the UK, fuck Keir Starmer, authoritarian Nazi piece of shit, and I have no problem calling him one. All right, that's wow. Shout out again to Ricky. Go support Council State Media. Support independent media.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll probably again not be remonetized by YouTube for pulling that stunt. So if you're able to, please help us out. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. Ko-fi.com/Indie News Network. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. And at IndieNewsNow.com. Yeah, money. That right. That Pink Floyd. Shout out to Roger Waters, who is principled and stands up for Palestine every chance he gets. Also, INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com over on Substack. We're live at IndieMediaToday.com now. We're going to be live at INN Newsletter at the top of the hour for boats smashing into other boats, which is our fun react show, which we'll do after we're done screaming all this fuck Israel screaming nonsense because... And now we're going to talk about how badly the Trump administration is persecuting people. But they had a little bit of a setback in there.
At the Legion of Doom.
Basically, yeah. But they had a little setback this week to their persecution agenda, thankfully. All right. On Friday, a federal judge has ordered that Mahmoud Khalil, for the second week in a row, was to be released from ICE detention. Only this time they actually did it. Reminder that he has not been charged with a crime. Again, 104 days locked up, never charged with a crime. Other than a visa violation because they revoked his visa while he was already here and then swept him off the streets, put him into a car, shipped him down to Louisiana, and stuck him in a hole for 100 days. And wanted to bury him and have everybody forget about him and fought to keep him in prison without giving him a trial or any kind of due process. Free speech, journalism, and free speech are not a crime, as Proud Socialist, our friend, says over here. So I'm going to bring this is the actual news report from the Fox affiliate locally when he walked out of the detention facility.
We're heading back over to the LaSalle Detention Center where Mahmoud Khalil is currently being released, and our Shaw Pryor is still on the scene with more.
Music.
I know, dude.
All right, here we are on the scene at the LaSalle Detention Center as Mahmoud Khalil is
fascinating footage there of a building.
Moment. It has been since March since Mahmoud Khalil was detained by ICE on the campus of Columbia University, and now he is finally getting released from the LaSalle Detention Center here in Jena. Mahmoud has missed many life events during this time, including the birth of his first child, and now he is getting ready to walk out of the LaSalle Detention Center for the first time on his path to return home to New York. Mahmoud Khalil was known.
The cameraman, this is so bad. Like, dude.
I know, dude.
Really?
Fucking move. Go around, bro.
Find him. Come on, move. Yeah, zoom out. Find
zoom out.
There they are.
Just hold on the sign, bro. Hold on the sign.
Wow.
For your
You're here on
your
the
hands
scene,
in the
but
shot.
not really seeing it. Your hands in the shot. Terrible, but yes, he got out. Free at last. Free at last. You know, he got out, and then he was able to fly home. So I wanted to point this out. I brought this from Left Voice, another Indie Media Award honoree. All right. Yeah, that after over 100 days in detention, Columbia University graduate and pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil has finally been released from federal custody on bail. Speaking to reporters after, he said, "No one is illegal. No human is illegal." Khalil's case, as one of the first targets of Trump's attacks on freedom of speech, galvanized widespread support with millions rushing to his defense, including us. his freedom is an important victory for the movement for Palestine, as well as those who oppose the U.S.-Israeli genocide in Gaza. And it's a win for those who have been fighting to stop Trump's efforts to shred our most basic rights. Released on bail, Khalil still faces a legal battle ahead. It's essential that we continue to fight for the state to drop all charges against Khalil and all being attacked for standing with Palestine, like Ramasio Ozturk. Again, these people committed no crime. No crime. They were here legally. They had a green card or a visa. And then the state, the country decided, the State Department, to revoke that without telling them, and then swept them up and decided that they were now criminals because they were here illegally because that had been revoked without telling them. That it doesn't work that way. So shout out to, again, Indie Media Award honoree Decensored News, who got the footage through Megnon Bose over on Twitter of Mahmoud Khalil arriving.
Also, good on you for sourcing that. Good on you, Decensored News, for sourcing that.
He did at Newark Airport.
Very respectable.
Right. They knew that after more than 3 months, they can breathe a sigh of relief and know that he's on his way home to me and Dean, their son, who never should have been separated from his father. Yes, he not only missed the birth of his son, he missed his first Father's Day, which to me as a father, just that sucks. That's shit. And they'll have another, they'll make up for it, but whatever. You can't make up for it. You don't get that back. So this 41 seconds, notice if you'll see a figure who does not belong there whatsoever throughout this footage. Woo, yeah. Woo. Wait, who's walking next to the stroller? Now that's his wife in a headscarf. Noor. Who's in that dark suit? Anybody know? Anybody recognize her?
Oh God.
There's always the macro and then there's the micro.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez managed to find a way to show up at this. Now, some people said that she's his congresswoman. I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure that Columbia University isn't part of New York 14. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not. That's in Washington Heights. She's oversees the Bronx and Queens. I know what New York 14 is. I actually scouted that zip code by zip code. Way back in 2018, Jesus actually. Christ. I researched New York 14 before she was the candidate for Justice Democrats, funny enough. So I know she's not his congressperson. She just seized on a photo op. And for some reason, she was invited to make that walk from him walking in the airport to greeting his fellow activists at Newark. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You know you got to do it, right?
I'm not going to.
You're being summoned to do it. You got to say the line.
What?
You know? You got to say the line.
I don't know which line that is.
Check the chat.
Oh. Okay.
You'll get it when you check the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not checking. I can't read it that fast and process.
I don't stand for that.
Anyway. Decensored News also reminded us again where we were for the last 100 days. How did this all start? Here's an incredible exchange where a deputy secretary of Homeland Security was asked why Mahmoud Khalil was arrested in the first place. And this is almost 5 minutes, so I'm not going to play it.
Why?
But just a reminder that when he was pressed by the judge, he could not give a single example of Khalil's alleged terrorist activity, his support of terrorism, or any criminal activity at all. Because Khalil's name was on a list that was handed to the White House by Beitar U.S., and they executed on behalf of Beitar U.S. And by extension, the Israel lobby. That's who Beitar represents, the Zionists of America. So Zionists of America had a list of all the Palestinian activists that had visas or green cards. I wonder how they got that. They handed it to the Trump administration and said, these people you might want to think about deporting. And Trump admin said, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And that's what they've been in the process of doing. And nobody has really stopped them except for the courts and a few activist lawyers and some judges that have been principled enough to say that what they're doing is wrong. They're shredding the Constitution. They're shredding the rights of immigrants that they are, that precedent has established that they are entitled to here. But for some reason, Trump admin just wants to strip them of all of that. All right.
Rights. I have a right. You have no right. We have a right. They don't have a right. Folks, I hate to spoil your fun, but there's no such thing as rights, okay? They're imaginary. We made them up. Like the boogeyman.
Ooh. We made them up like the boogeyman. Ooh. I miss George Carlin.
What was the... Hold on. About that. I'll find it.
So in the meantime, not only is the Trump administration taking L's on the Mahmoud Khalil front, and they still may end up deporting Mahmoud Khalil, but they never wanted him out of a detention facility in the United States able to speak to the media. They never wanted that to ever happen. And they lost that already. So good for you. Now, on top of that, another judge is directing the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia in Tennessee. Now, remember, that's the dude that they had renditioned to CCOT and then had him ordered home. Of course, his Senator Van Hollen went and met with him. Then they figured out a loophole to send him back to stand trial in Tennessee for some other crime that they accused him of and have him allegedly on tape for committing. All right. But according to this, the judge is now releasing Kilmar Abrego Garcia because of a lack of due process. We will give him the due process that he's granted, that everybody else deserves. These are the laws. This is what we all agreed to, what we all signed up for, what they told us. All right. The government's motion for detention is denied. A separate order will enter following hearing directing his release on conditions. Further, the U.S. is advised of its right to seek review of this order, so they're going to appeal. Try to keep him in jail even further. But now his release has also now been ordered. And we'll see if the government decides to come up with some other loophole to keep him imprisoned as well. Because the Trump admin loves imprisoning immigrants that are here under, legally. They were allowed in. They were given some kind of status under asylum and told to report for hearings and are even doing that. And they're being arrested at their hearings. They're being arrested at their job. They're being arrested at their kids' kindergarten graduation. We heard about that. I mean, fuck ICE. For sure. And not like the cold thing that you put in your drink, but Immigration's Customs Enforcement, those guys, the Migras. All right. They are like, we've talked about Arturo Dominguez's articles about it. They're like a modern day Gestapo. They really are. I mean, they're not uniformed.
What country you from?
They're not uniformed. They're not showing badges half the time. They're covering up their faces, and they're not even in marked vehicles. And they're sweeping people off the streets without due process, putting them in prison without the right to a speedy trial. The only right this way, as George Carlin also famously said. All right.
He remembers. Sunday, you got to go to church, dog.
There's Anita Wood's name up there. I told you I added it. So thank you, Anita, for being the latest subscriber to INNnewsletter.com. We put out a daily update there. We put out podcast episodes of I'm sorry, not How Do We, of INN News. We're doing Jesse Jett, American Tradition. I just moved American Tradition's podcast over to Substack, so you can watch all the previous shows commercial-free, totally ad-free over there. But yeah, support the media you want to see over at Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, over at indienewsnow.com, which is our news website, and then also at the Substacks, INNnewsletter.com and IndieMediaToday.com, where we're still live right now. And we've had more than 60 people check in tonight so far at IndieMediaToday.com. I really appreciate everybody checking it out. Hope you stay. Hope you like what you're seeing. And hope you share it with other people so more people can actually see it. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Yes, like I said, thank you. Sean the Accord Lord, I heard Abby Martin's brother is a Fed and was trying to smash Whitney Webb. Okay, I don't know anything about that with Robbie Martin. I do know Robbie Martin. I know that Robbie Martin is on very much like, let's name the names of who was shit on Tulsi and RFK and Kash Patel, for example, and let's get them out and kind of have a conversation about that, because there were a bunch of them that were supposedly left alternative channels that all of a sudden got very comfy with the flip-flopping Democrats. But Kash Patel, the podcaster, I don't even know what to describe him as, but never been a fan of Kash Patel, cross-eyed motherfucker.
Yeah, dude's fucking weird. Anyway, speaking of church, and like with the Iran war stuff going on, we should do this one.
And you probably noticed I don't feel about that war the way we were told we were supposed to feel about that war, the way we were ordered and instructed by the United States government to feel about that war. You see, I tell you, my mind doesn't work that way. I got this real moron thing I do. It's called thinking. And I'm not a very good American because I like to form my own opinions.
Yes.
I don't just roll over when I'm told to. Sad to say, most Americans just roll over on command. Not me. I have certain rules I live by. My first rule, I don't believe anything the government tells me. Nothing. Zero. Nope. And I don't take very seriously the media or the press in this country, who in the case of the Persian Gulf War were nothing more than unpaid employees of the Department of Defense, and who most of the time function as kind of an unofficial public relations agency for the United States government. So I don't listen to them. I don't really believe in my country. And I got to tell you, folks, I don't get all choked up about yellow ribbons and American flags. I consider them to be symbols, and I leave symbols to the symbol-minded.
Yep.
What? No?
Sure.
So glad?
Sure. Yes, that's Sunday church with George. For sure. All right, we could always use some of that perspective, and God only knows what he would have to say today.
Dude.
But we already know what's coming next. And you know, one of the things that I pride myself on with this show, hey, what happened here? Is that we try to stay ahead of where the narrative is going and what's not just what's happening today, but where's it going to go next? So we already know what's next, thanks to the Times of Israel. Qatar, Israel's next real enemy after Iran. Why? I'll tell you why. Because of Al Jazeera.
It's got 6 strings and it sounds good.
Well, but because of Al Jazeera. All right. Any media or mid-press news, I believe, has some kind of an office. I don't
Al Jerome Jazeera.
And now, international news from Al Jazeera.
Dude.
Car bombing in Syria, skilly boom bop yeah. 37 people killed. Ooh, the people are dead.
Ooh, the people are dead. Yes, that's Al Jazeera. Yes,
Jazeera.
Thank you, Family Guy, for that. Unbelievable. Israel
American
is currently
Dad,
bombing.
how dare you?
5 countries are being bombed by Israel, but some are already planning for the next war, which is going to be Qatar. They want to go after Qatar next. Can't imagine why. There must be mineral resources somewhere under there. Oil or...
Yeah, funny how that works.
Or there's a media outlet that's coming out of Qatar that they want to shut down. They've also threatened Pakistan and Turkey in the last few days, apparently. This was 2 days ago. So that's the first thing is we know that what Israel's plan after they finish allegedly dismantling Iran is they want to go after Qatar and destabilize yet another part of that region. Okay? But we've also got, all right, we talked about Trump a little while ago and some of the shit that they've been doing with Mahmoud Khalil and the L that they took with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Here's another L that they took. ICE arrested a guy twice this week with legal status, the same guy. And they had to release him both times because he had status. Like a day laborer arrested and held for 8+ hours despite having been granted asylum years ago. He was set to be transferred out of LA, but we were able to prove status before they moved him. They're playing this musical chairs. They're trying to move people around the country so you can't even find them. And by the time you do, they've already suffered for a week. And like the punishment is part of the process. They just want to inflict pain and punishment on these people. It's just brutal and unnecessary. These people did nothing. They did nothing wrong in most cases. Okay, how many of the 283 people that they knew they sent to CCOT that had committed no crime in the United States?
Yep.
But not just
but
that.
What America really has become is rich people against poor people.
I want to shout out this Substack newsletter, Dissent in Bloom. DissentInBloom.substack.com.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
She wrote a piece the other day, or it was yesterday. ICE is using TikTok to hunt, and Trump is letting it happen. So that's pretty interesting, as Trump puts off the ban for another 90 days, which the president isn't even supposed to be able to suspend that activity at all. That was deemed by Congress that ByteDance had to sell by a certain date, and they just keep kicking that can down the road. Why? Because the CIA got let in the back door, and now it's become a big data mining operation. So she says this isn't just about TikTok. The 34-page ICE document reads like a blueprint for building a nationwide surveillance state, and social media is only one piece of the machine. For months now, Trump has been dangling the TikTok ban like bait in a psyop trap. One minute he's calling the app a Chinese spy, the next he's issuing yet another delay. Why? The first deadline came and went, then came another and another. We're now on our third extension. Each time, the ban threatens to drop like the bass in a TikTok remix, but just before it does, the rug gets yanked. Go figure. Again. At first glance, it looks like dysfunction, but dig a little deeper and it starts to look like design. Because a newly unearthed ICE document so dense with surveillance jargon it might as well have come wrapped in foil lays it all bare. TikTok data is a resource, a harvest, and ICE and the federal government wants it flowing like a fire hose. They're not interested in banning TikTok. They're interested in mining it. You know who wanted TikTok banned? It wasn't the U.S. government. It was Israel, because hashtag Free Palestine was outdoing hashtag I'm Israel Chai 10-1. Okay, so check out this article by Dissent in Bloom. It's a really good one.
And don't forget TikTok Trojan Horse by Alan McLeod. You can go
that's
check
a good
that
one.
out in our backlogs if you so wish.
It shows all the NSA agents and Homeland Security and former spies that are now working in management at TikTok, State Department employees as well. That was with Jett, if I remember correctly, from 2 years ago on INN News.
Yeah.
I also wrote an article this week that started from just a Substack note. And I guess I'll start with the note because the note is quick. And then I just wrap it with a lot of images and receipts to back up what I'm saying. But I said, so I publicly asked multiple times on here on notes a few things about the No Kings Day that people seem to be very excited over. And I don't want to knock that. I've gotten exactly one response from 13 plus million people allegedly who attended one. Now, by the way, that's already been dialed back to 5 million. My question is, what did the people attending the No Kings protest rallies yesterday accomplish? They're celebrating. They were high-fiving. It was great vibes and feels. 13 million people stood in a street or a park or whatever with no real demand, many of whom voted for Kamala Harris last November, who, if we recall, was anointed as the eventual Democratic candidate by the donors, like a king or queen. What happened last Saturday is the result of when people turn off their critical thinking skills and just turn out because vibes and feels and we're just mad at Trump. There was no actual plan to stop anything, just to complain in public. It was organized by the people who rigged their last 3 presidential candidates, and partially funded by a billionaire heiress of the largest employer in the country, who's directly responsible for millions of Americans who work for her companies being underpaid, still required to be on food stamps, and not given enough hours to earn a living. Walmart. And I put a tweet above from our friend Tired Peasant, who talked about that she's leaving the Walmart store that she's been working at for 11 years in Florida, and they're replacing her with 3 part-timers. They're not putting full-timers on the payroll. Just as a reminder of very recent history, Joe Biden was the winner of the 2024 Democratic primary, even though most who voted for him were effectively forced to choose him. Throughout the primary, Democratic Party bosses made it clear to everyone that Biden was going to be the candidate Democrats had to vote for as the incumbent and the only serious challenge to Trump, which they all knew he wasn't. Of course, we all saw that a coup was engineered within the Democratic Party, one that everyone knew was coming for 3 years. Jett literally talked about that they were going to run Kamala Harris in 2024, in 21 on his albums. We have the receipts. And it resulted in Harris being installed as the nominee to challenge Trump. Nobody besides the billionaire donors got to choose her as their candidate. After we all saw how badly they botched the last 4 years, there probably wasn't any Democrat that could have beaten Trump. And I think that they all knew that. The people likely would not have, no matter which Democrat she faced in a primary, voted for Harris. So the party just ensured that she didn't have to face any challenge by exposing Biden's dementia post-primary as too advanced, even though everyone knew for years that he wasn't really running stuff anyway and demented, but he was just too advanced to continue, right? There was even, remember, an opportunity to have an open debate and choose a different candidate at the convention, but that wasn't even seriously ever part of the conversation. I still can't believe that. Everyone around her knew Harris had no chance and would be a miserable failure if she somehow pulled it off, but they all still got in line behind her anyway. The Democrats compromised themselves. They bullied a complicit, click-hungry media apparatus. They whitewashed and ignored genocide in Gaza. They also funded and armed it. They gaslit us on Ukraine not being a proxy war, only to have them admit it was all along. And they even blackmailed half of Hollywood to attempt to make it happen. A reminder that Antony Blinken and Jake Sullivan effectively ran foreign policy for the country under the Biden admin, and that the aforementioned Anita Dunn, it's come out, made a lot of the domestic policy decisions with the auto pen. Nobody elected any of them last I checked. And now back to Saturday's No Kings Day. Oh, God.
It's good to be the king.
And now the Democratic Party again wants you to believe that the party would be a positive alternative to Trump, that they would provide, and that people, and they gave people an opportunity to yell, "Orange man bad," in the streets, funded by the corporate America, largely getting in line with Trump's agenda. It seems like this was a liberal pink pussy hat 2.0 party 8 years later. All right. Everyone who attended went home that night, felt a little better about themselves for a day, and then watched World War III continue to unfold, supported by those same Democrats who organized the protest rallies. Nothing fundamentally changed, just like Joe Biden. Not one person celebrating No Kings on Saturday wanted to answer these questions, and I got a couple, but they were very kind of lame. What happened on Sunday? What happens on Monday? Is there any follow-up? Do you do any direct action? Is there any way to make elected officials uncomfortable so they change their behavior? They showed up at these protest rallies. You can't make them uncomfortable if they're there on your, standing alongside you. I didn't think so, but please prove me wrong. Or explain what was accomplished that has everyone acting like something was. And all I got was a lot of vibes and feels. Again, this tweet really set me off. Imagine throwing a No Kings protest after your party refused to hold a primary, coronated Kamala without a single vote, sued to keep RFK Jr. off the ballot, and attempted to then remove Trump from state ballots only after your illegal lawfare scheme failed in the first place. If there was a modern-day monarchy in America, there would be one party you could point to, which is the Democrats. 75 million people did vote for Trump. Nobody would have voted for Harris given the choice from the outset. They were basically shoehorned into it because they voted blue no matter who. And that triggered a bunch of stuff. And I didn't want to write the article, and Colin and Reef covered it on INN News, and they read through this whole thing and commented as well. They brought up Brett Wilkins' piece where, again, he talked about vibes and feels. And here's this shit lib. Maybe nobody's responding to your dumb fucking question because it was posed by a morally preening dipshit. Just a thought. Yeah, no. Sorry, you have nothing. Tell me what you think I got wrong. He's got nothing. What we accomplished, right? Get a real job. Uh-huh. By your logic.
The common clay of the New West.
Now, Michelle de Cryptodamus, friend of the show, says, I think it was a good test run or show of force that proved a lot of people will take to the streets if shit gets even more out of hand than it already is. I disagree. Well, also a contrast to
supposed to do another one?
July 4th. How interesting.
Like July 4th?
It's also a contrast to the military parade in D.C. It was psychologically humiliating for Trump. Humiliation is one of the most potent weapons against narcissists. Certainly they had more people attend than his shitty birthday parade. Absolutely.
That's if you believe he's running anything.
I think that it was really his decision to run that military parade. He orchestrated that because he wanted a birthday party and he wanted to see tanks in the streets. So we have some really good news. According to our friend Shanda, Terry the tumor is dead. She beat cancer. Fuck cancer. Okay. Shanda went to go see her pulmonary thoracic surgeon on Friday. He's the head of her care team, the nicest, smartest man in the room. And he said that they can't find any new cancer cells and that they fought back what's there. So I think they said one more test and they'll declare her actually in remission. She put an update on her GoFundMe where I will also, again, I'm very actively taking immunotherapy. So here's her mix of meds that she's been taking, right? She still needs help because SSDI came through, but still needs a lot more financial support if we can help. She's only got, $5,000 on her goal. She's got $1,275 raised. Anything anyone can do there, that would really help. She's not the only one, unfortunately. Then we've also got Anna Marie. She's now home from Cincinnati, figuring out life going forward. I have not seen an update from Andrew recently. her father, friend of the show, friend of the network, and former head of Action for Assange, or one of the organizers for the Action for Assange show. And again, we're leaving now, start treatment tomorrow. That was April 29th. They're now home. The treatment's all over with now, and she's learning to walk with a cane and read Braille, and it was intensive therapy for like 6 weeks. So they certainly could use the help. And like I said, also our friend Oz the Boomer. Shout out to Oz. Everybody loves Oz. Codashfee.com/Oz the Boomer. Stay away from my chickens, Oz.
Great and powerful Oz.
Oh.
Stay away from my chickens, Oz.
That's right. He's got to stay away from my chickens. He's getting a lot of eggs, apparently. They have more eggs than they know what to do with from his chickens. So he should definitely stay away from my chickens. Oz's been going through some health stuff. So if anybody can support Oz with $5, $10 here, certainly helps. And then I wanted to post another update. You know, I think I mentioned last week our friend Halo Benson, her daughter Aspen, facing devastating charges after a trip gone wrong. They need to raise $30,000 for her defense, and she's looking at 30 years in prison. They need help. So this is the GoFundMe for Aspen. I think I might have even put it up last week. They haven't even gotten to $1,000 yet, but thank you to the $700, to the people who've donated, the 7 people. I know Misty's one of them. We're going to be putting in from INN also to support this. She's going to need a lot of help, and she just got caught in a bad situation. It's really rough. I'm hoping everything works out for her. So she's also autistic, and she was held in prison for a while, and it definitely triggered her, and it's apparently going to be months of a setback. And again, a lot of that is here in the GoFundMe kind of description. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but we will do that. I think I did that last week. But please, I'll put the link in the description afterwards, and definitely at the Substack, where the newsletter, where all the links for everything coming to a Substack. Yes.
Substack newsletter near you.
All right, it'll be in there. That's where I try to make sure all the links are. Like I mentioned Indie News Now before, because you can keep the news free and support our network there with a Stripe contribution.
Go to my website.
All right, but there's also the ability to watch live, and there's a news section. So we feed in from a bunch of different Substack publishers and Common Dreams. I don't know if we've got Truth Out still in here anymore. Richard Medhurst and God, so many people. Robert Urbanchek, he's another one from our friend over at Substack who's trying to call for peace. All right. And Progressive Truth Seekers. Again, just keep scrolling. It's nonstop, infinite scroll. You can read more articles and watch videos and podcasts. And then you can even break it down. So if I just want to watch videos, I click right there and it'll just show me just the videos. Pretty cool stuff. The other thing that I wanted to show was the merch. We have a new merch store. IndieNewsShop.itemorder.com.
Look at my shirt, little bitch.
Hey, that's not nice.
Buy my merch right quick. Look at my shirt.
Check out that beanie.
Go to my website.
All right, Indie News Shop. You've got INN t-shirts. You got the INN logo that the Zagos did. You got me with the red tie. I asked them to make a green tie one. I don't know if they've done it yet. Here's all the t-shirts. You got American Tradition shirts. Okay, when people are occupied, resistance is justified. That's t-shirt, $20. Have it delivered to your house, $20 plus shipping.
Buy my merch right quick.
Right. And you get it in black as well. So yeah, we're doing good on time. Good stuff.
You know
I
what
think
the
that's
difference is between you and me? I make this look good.
Again, shout out to George Carlin as usual. This was good. I was like, I don't know if I even want to do this show anymore tonight, because like it's all so friggin' depressing, man. I'll tell you. I can't wait to get to boats, because I can't anymore. You know, I'm raged out.
No more.
No, exactly. That's exactly how I feel right now. I don't want to do this no more. We may need to take a little bit of a break, folks. I don't know. I'm starting to burn out on this shit.
No one knows what they're doing. Everything is getting worse. Some people deserve to die. Your money is worthless. No one is properly dressed. At least one of your children will disappoint you. The system is rigged. Your house will never be completely clean. All teachers are incompetent. There are people who really dislike you. Nothing is as good as it seems. Things don't last. No one is paying attention. The country is dying. God doesn't care.
Shh. Ooh. Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm tired, boss. That's right. There we go. Dr. Nick has it. Yep, we're in a goddamn police state, KYE.
Rat shit, bat shit, dirty old twat. 69 assholes tied in a knot. Hooray! Lizard shit, fuck!
We're in a goddamn police state. Just today, 5 men by Disneyland pulled up in an unmarked van, beat up a landscaper. They had police vests and masks. Unmarked van, father of 3, Marine, been here 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, wow.
American bullshit.
We certainly can manufacture a lot of that. Well, thank you, Michaela. Appreciate that.
My body weary.
Yeah, I'm a little burned out right now, so I need. We're gonna need a break. We're definitely gonna need some eye bleach. I'm gonna hit that pen for a little bit, take a couple dabs, and then we'll come back for boats. But I love you all. I really appreciate
back in a bit, folks.
I really appreciate everyone for hanging out. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. Before we do that, let me put that wall of fame up there one more time. Thanks to everybody. Cash App, $, Indie News Network. Code-V.com/Indie News Network. Reef's going to put the link for boats in the description. PayPal.me/Indie News Network. Yep. IndieNewsNow.com, INNNewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com. So many places you can go in order to support independent media. Because we need it more than ever. Again, I love you all, and see you soon. I don't know when, but we'll see you soon. See you, everyone.
Bye. Have a great time.
Bye-bye!
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry. My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to me, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe? Fresh off the masses, the brand new cancerous growth.